Welcome. I'm Professor Patrick Lynch. I'm joined today also by Dr. Caitlin Lynch, who will join me in this presentation on how AI and your future is evolving right now. And we hope to give you also some advice on what you can do to thrive with AI. We are so pleased to be here for HRday 2025. So there is so much going on right now in the world of AI, but we have chosen three topics to discuss today in our brief time. One is, how is AI reshaping jobs? And does that include your job? Yes, it does. Secondly, we will look at four different ways that you can use AI. And finally, a model that we call Thrive on different ways that you may be able to start if you have not already adopting some of these tools. One of the things that I often speak to about groups is how important data is at being a change catalyst. Many of us maybe go to the gym, and of course, we don't just go to work out. We are counting the number of reps. We are counting on how we have improved this week from last week. And that's just a small example on how data is a catalyst of change. It's really why things get done. And we can see this is true really throughout industries, throughout all kinds of industrial revolutions, that really data is now the most valuable resource. Really, there's more value being unlocked from this data than even oil. And this was proclaimed by the economist back in 2017. So we can see this is true as we have adopted new innovations throughout time. We're able to account more of the things that we are doing, whether those are how we're serving our customers or what we are directing our employees to do. And now with AI, it's even more important. In fact, I know this is true because I asked ChatGPT myself that in 2023, and it said, no, it's no longer just data, it's me. AI is the new electricity. If we reflect just on how it has affected things over the past 100 years, pretty much electricity has affected pretty much everything that we are doing. And now AI will transform everything over the next 100 years. AI is simply a digital tool that augments our abilities. That means it's going to help us do things that we are doing, but maybe even better. And clearly, there's going to be disruption. The World Economic Forum estimates 92 million jobs are going to be disrupted by AI. But in the same report, they also proclaim in the 2025 jobs report that 170 million new jobs are going to be created. So that means there's tremendous change. It's not just about job loss, but job transformation. That means that 40% of workers are going to need to reskill. We need to have new training and new ideas. That's 1.4 billion people, and there's only about 3.4 billion of us working at any one time. So that's a lot of people. AI is now conceivable that students are learning things that are obsolete by the time they graduate. This is very important. That means that we need to impart new skills for our schools and also in our employees. In fact, some CEOs are saying that it's appalling that people don't already know these skills. The COO of KPMG says, in fact, that she was very upset that students already at their firm did not have skills in these areas. And the AI lead for Salesforce, the CRM company, says that agency is far more important than just learning to code. Agency is simply seeking out the way to solve a problem and having the drive to solve it. It's so important that some companies are saying you have to figure out a way for AI not to do something before you can even hire new workers. That's going to be very important for HR professionals of tomorrow. So what are these new skills? We need workers that can think creatively, that have resilience and agility, that understand systems thinking, that if we do something here, something will affect somewhere else. And there are new jobs like prompt engineers, maybe AI personality designers, or even renewable energy engineers that are going to be needed to support this revolution because the technology is, in fact, energy intensive. And when we look across where we have been in just a short amount of time, we're now emerging into the AI agentic era. That means that we're going to be working with these AIs, not just as chatbots, but as teammates. AI is now less, in this sense, a search and answer engine, but more a collaboration engine. We are effectively now the last generation of leaders that have only managed humans, if you can imagine that. These agents are going to start to work on our teams and do things on our behalf. And so, of course, many companies are concerned. What do we do? How can AI transform what it is I tell my workers to do when it's moving so fast? I understand, and so do other C-suite executives. We can't know exactly how all different jobs are going to be different. But we do know that AI can do certain things. And for that, I will let Dr. Caitlin Lynch tell you a little more.
Thank you so much. So really, as we move forward, especially for an audience of HR professionals, we need to remember that there's 4 distinct ways to actually use AI. And we have discussed that in our recent publication in Thinkers 50, Bridging Cultures, How Human AI Collaboration is Redefining Teams, where we will begin to look at AI tools not just as tools, but actually members of a team, members to collaborate with. So what are the 4 ways that we can collaborate with these faces of AI? So there's the digital doer, there's the number ninja, there's the silicon psychic, and there's the cyber soulmate. What does this mean? Well, first, the digital doer. This is for all of those automated tasks that you have to do day to day, say spreadsheet entry and inventory management. It can take the grunt work out of that. So this is a way to use AI to offload some of the more mechanical aspects of work to free up time to do other things. The next phase, the number ninja. This is how to analyze things. So you can offload all of your complex statistical analyses to the number ninja. The number ninja can crunch the numbers faster and better, perhaps, than a human ever could, and deliver that information back to you so that you have time to use your own human intuition to better analyze that data. Next, you have the silicon psychic. Now, that's when you can use all of the information you have, your own intuition, your own thoughts, tell that to the silicon psychic and say, what am I missing? And especially as AI improves, the silicon psychic will be able to make projections for you that you might have otherwise missed. And finally, you have the cyber soulmate. Now, this is the face of AI that might seem a lot further away than is true. This is empathetic intelligence, and that might sound like an oxymoron, but it is closer than you think. And if you have time to check out Hume AI's demo, you will be surprised how close you are to having AI that understands and responds to human emotions. What's really important, especially for especially for HR professionals, is that you not give jobs to the cyber soulmate that a human really is better suited to do. It's more important to understand the line between technology and human intelligence and use these 4 faces intelligently, so that work is freed up for you to be more creative, not less creative.
So I will wrap this up on what you could do next. How can you thrive with AI? Well, I suggest thinking big, but starting small, taking that first step. We've developed a Thrive with AI model, giving you 6 different ways to adopt AI in your work. The first is really starting with your purpose. This is what we call transformative engagement. The second is high productivity. That is going to be having routine tasks already solved by the AI. Resilient adaptability, that's lifelong learning. And then imagination and creativity support. Is there a way that AI can make me more creative? Value through ethics. We need to be very mindful that these tools are not perfect, and when should we take over? And then efficient optimization, putting it all together to make sure it has a guidance that's a net benefit to our lives. So what we've done here, and you can scan the infographic, we also have this in Espanol. You can look at this as a tool to assess where you are as a baseline. So each of these have a different diagnostic that's part of the infographic to ask yourself some questions on where to start. And so, of course, you do want to start with your own purpose. That means that you're focused on first doing meaningful work. You want to make sure that you're productive in what you're doing and what you're letting the AI do for you. You want to make sure that you are learning lifelong skills, meaning that you're going to continuously adopt and adapt to these new tools. You want to use this to enhance your creativity. and you want to make sure that you're taking over when it's appropriate. That's the value through ethics, and finally putting it all together to make sure it's optimized for your purpose. So there's a scoring guide that's part of the infographic. We'll invite you to take that free tool later. And maybe you want to use this for inspiration to have a meeting with your team on how you could thrive with AI. And so there's a sample meeting agenda to get you started. If you're interested in this, we have other free tools and advice that we are giving out. So join our club. This is a way that we're sharing new insights and ebooks or other worksheets that can help you thrive with AI. So what does this mean for your career? I think it's your call to action to start today, that AI can, in fact, augment and enhance what you're doing. AI is the augmentative intelligence that powers us to do more than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Patrick and Caroline. The presentation was amazing, and thank you for your generosity to share with us, with Latin America, this knowledge. I'll start with some questions about the topic based on your own experience. What do you think, or which job position or profession do you think will be most affected by AI over the next 5 years?
Monica, thank you again for having us. We're so pleased to be invited. This is an excellent question, and I think it is one that has been very surprising to people over the past few years. If we had this conversation a few years ago, the answer would have been routine kinds of tasks are likely to be the first affected by AI or technology. And those would be even maybe routine kinds of physical work. But what we have found with the advent of generative AI, where now new solutions can be created with these tools, it is white collar or professional workers in almost every industry that will be affected the most by AI, especially over the next 5 years. As I shared in the talk there in the presentation, there's a number of new emerging job roles. And if you are a professional that's touching technology now, for example, maybe in accounting or maybe some kind of financial analysis, you know how important already these technologies are to your everyday job. I think that we will see very quickly already there are new partners in the form of agentic AI that will become helpmates, teammates to you as part of your everyday role. And that goes even for people like salespeople. For example, I mentioned how Salesforce, the CRM company, they have now AI agents that will mimic your client before you even have the first meeting. This could really improve the kind of success rate that a salesperson has with understanding and having empathetic feelings about the customer's needs that maybe will help them be even more successful. So it is these professional, what we would think of white collar jobs will be immediately affected, and it looks like continually over the next 5 years.
And in simple words, how should companies prepare their employees to embrace AI?
It is building on these same ideas. I think all companies will need to look carefully at providing training and education to their workers. Their current workers are going to need this training in order to adopt the new AI tools into their jobs. And new employees will come with new skills. Probably you will be able to utilize them in some new ways, but you need to be prepared for that. So despite what some may think, training and education is going to continue to be very important to all companies. And I would recommend starting small, starting with pilots in specific areas to see what the AI can do. Many companies are doing this now by asking their employees for ideas. And we can already see evidence. There are many case studies from big companies like Motorola all the way to born digital companies like Shopify. They are adopting these kinds of tools into workflow. So this is the way to start. Start small, start with a pilot, see what it can do, and move forward.
And what ethical considerations should organizations keep in mind when using AI, especially thinking topic with diversity or inclusion?
So I can take this one. In my research, I look a lot at how expanding access to technology leads to intended consequences, right? Increased availability of that technology, increased ability to use that technology, but it always has unintended outcomes as well. And it's our job as leaders to anticipate both. You can't know what you don't know, but you can learn from the past. When you reframe AI as technology, period, you can learn things from the past. So one of my favorite stories of a really successful case study of bringing electricity, just electricity, not AI, not internet, light, to rural Peru. It was this wonderfully organized project. They really prioritized inclusivity. Really, it was a community-led initiative, and it was praised for that. And they come back at the end months later to say, how is the electricity? How are you enjoying it? And they were so disappointed to find that it had expanded opportunities and it had also reinforced inequalities. When they interviewed men who had access to the electricity in their homes, they said, oh, what do they use it for? They said, oh, I listen to the radio, I watch TV, I have such a great time. And women reported, oh, I love it, I have so much more time to do chores. So you now, on the one hand, if that's what you're choosing to use the electricity for, there's nothing wrong with that. But we see that despite their best efforts, they wound up reinforcing inequalities in that community. And when they further looked back on it, they realized, oh, we set up the meeting times for this project at the same time as a women's book club. So women were not part of the planning process as they intended. So we can't know what we don't know, but we can learn from the past. And so in the case of AI, in the case of HR professionals, in the case of diversity, it's always worth looking at the past and saying, something like this will probably happen again. In the case of Chile, you can look a lot at rural communities and indigenous communities. How do we include these groups instead of excluding them as they often have been in the past?
Right. And finally, the last question, what advice would you give to professionals to help them navigate the area?
Start today, start small. Make it approachable for yourself. As I say in many of my classes, you want to demystify this technology. This is not something that's happening to someone else, it's happening to you. So embrace this, and in good faith, the tools that we have shared in the presentation, such as the Thrive framework, is a great way to get started, and it encourages you to take that next step. So the call to action for all professionals out there, get involved, demystify, and learn. You can take part of this every day and make yourself a bit stronger.
Thank you both, Patrick and Kathleen. It was an amazing time with you. Thank you for being here, and bye-bye to our conference.
Thank you so much for having us.